Si le micro marche. D'accord, c'est bon. Bonjour à tous. We're going to switch to English because it's a European-wide webinar or workshop. I hope you're all okay with English. So today we're going to talk about the 3 phases of successful e-commerce. So it's not just e-commerce, it will be m-commerce, hopefully. We're going to try to do B2B, B2C app. Some of you, we talked with Jan, some of you are already very successful or very experienced in e-commerce. So I hope you're going to learn a few new things. If you have questions, do not hesitate to interrupt us during the workshop. It's until 12:15, so you have 2 full hours. For those that are going to be watching through Hangout, if they have questions and they want to post them as well, they can. And we're going to leave our email address at the end of the workshop so that you can also send us your emails or if you have more questions. We're going to start with the presentation. We're going to go through the objectives of the workshop, and then we'll introduce ourselves as well, so you'll know a little bit more. Yes, yeah, exactly. Yes, so you won't have to take notes. And it's not working. Okay, great. The objective of the workshop is to share our views on what we believe are the key success factors to succeed in e or m-commerce. We're going to share a few best-in-class examples, what we believe are the best examples around websites and apps. And also we'll try to review a few B2C, B2B, and app web examples. So we're not going to keep it just on the website, but we're going to try to widen it a bit. And also not just B2C, but B2B as well. So the agenda, so we're going to introduce ourselves. We'll talk just 2 seconds about what PayPal is. We're going to show you what the 3 phases are in e-commerce. And the 3 phases are attract, convert, retain. And then we'll conclude. And again, there'll be time for questions at the end, but also during each slide. So who we are, Justine?
Hi, everyone. I'm Justine. I've been working at PayPal for the past 4 years now. I'm working in the cross-border trade team, which is in charge of international transactions. So when a consumer from one country purchases from a merchant in another country within Europe. I started actually in the strategy and global business development team. I'll be talking today about international expansion and giving you some profiling and hints about your international customers and what success looks like abroad.
And I'm Emmanuel Pace, so I'm currently the EMEA UED producer. So mainly UED stands for User Experience Design. So I'll be talking, in fact, a little bit about how the user experience design is inside the e-commerce environment. And in fact, I've started like an engineer initially, and then I've created a few e-commerce websites such as Lubricant, Petrosian, mostly on the retail market. And I'm in PayPal since now even 18 months, something like that, so a year and a half. That's it. So, thank you.
Thank you. And my name is Francis Burrell. So I'm the head of market growth for PayPal France, which means that I kind of do business development, strategy partnership. And one of my key roles is also to help startups just like yours to expand, to grow, and hopefully also to grow internationally. So I'll be your key contacts also at the end if you have questions. And so I just like Justine, we both studied in Lille. So we love the city. And I've been at PayPal for 3.5 years. Very quickly, what is PayPal? Because hopefully I'm sure you've all heard of the company, but to give you a few numbers and to explain a little bit more what PayPal is. So we say that we're a two-sided network. Some people said that we're a wallet as well. The reason is that usually to use PayPal, you have to have a PayPal account and you have to pay someone who also has a PayPal account. However, we also do a card transaction, so you don't even have to have a PayPal account. You can just use your card. But our strength is with what we call, again, the wallet, or the fact that you use an account, because the account hides your credit card information, your bank account numbers, so you don't have to share them with anyone. So today, we have a very strong customer base with 179 million customers around the world in 203 markets. So that's almost 203 countries. We have millions of merchants. So today, 13 millions. And when you talk about merchants, we also talk about developers, because again, we have two sides, so consumers and merchants. But a lot of the merchants are developers, such as yourself, for instance, who are the strength of our network, and they're the ones that add PayPal to a website, and they're the ones that make it, user friendly. So we'll talk about that afterwards. That's why I'd ask Emmanuel to join us, because as part of his very strong experience in design, we feel that when we talk about the conversion part, design is very important, but it's also very important in marketing, and also there's a lot more than just design in increasing conversion, and also that's part of increasing the engagement as well. And finally, the more consumer engagement you have, the more data you have, and the more transactions you get, and then you can increase your customer base. And this goes for PayPal, but it's going to go for you as well. You're going to see that you need to enter a virtuous circle, so that you can grow by increasing your base and making customers happy. So that's why we like to talk about the three phases of of successful e-commerce. And when we talk about the three phases, what do we mean? So to me, it starts with attracting customers by doing marketing, getting lead generation. And sometimes when we talk about lead generation, it's more like B2B. So you have a potential supplier or potential customer that arrives on your website, and you want to qualify them. So maybe you put a form so that they just put some information, then you call them back. So that's what we do as well. But I think that's what some B2B websites can do. And so that's the first phase, is how do you attract more traffic to your website? How do you bring potential prospects? The second phase is convert. So how do you convert prospects into customers? And that's all about the customer experience and the user experience. And I put a map there because you have to make sure that they don't need a map in order to transact, to convert. And it has to be really easy. The final phase is delivery, but delivery not just of the package or the service, but also delivery on a promise. And that goes with customer service. So how do you provide such a great customer service to your prospects or to your one-time customer that they become lifetime customer? And so not only do you retain them, and so they keep coming back to create more transactions, but also how do they become ambassadors for your brand, and how do they bring even more customers as well? So those are the three main phases that we're going to talk about during the workshop. So attract, convert, retain. Hopefully you agree with those three phases and you don't see that there's a fourth or a fifth one, but that's what we're going to talk about. And so very, very quickly, the key objectives to us and the key tools that we're going to share and explain during the workshop around attract is the USP, the unique selling proposition, and the brand. So how do you create a USP? How do you strengthen your brand? How do you use research to refine your USP? How do you buy or create traffic to your website? How do you attract new audiences around international customers? And so this is going to be mainly Justine. And how do you use social media to create a multi-channel presence? And so again, so you have a few tools that we're going to share. For the conversion part, how do you transform prospects into customers? How do you create or offer a very fluid, very mobile-friendly experience as well? How do you make sure that there's almost an invisible ordering experience? I'll tell you why I mean invisible. And how, again, do you identify returning customers so that when they arrive, they have a customized experience and not just a regular standard experience? We're going to talk about all those tools as well. So checkout flows, shopping experience, and so on. And finally, for the retain part, we're going to share, how do you transform one-time customers into loyal for life customers? I like to use, again, the word ambassadors, because I feel that once a customer is happy, he's going to talk to 10 of his friends maybe, and bring more customers. So we're going to talk about the NPS. I hope that you all know what NPS is, and if you don't, that's great. Then hopefully that will bring value to this workshop today. And how do you measure NPS? How do you manage it? How do you increase it? And so on. So those are the three phases. So we're going to dive right into there. And I want to start with a quiz. Do you know this quote? If you build it, they will come. Do you know where it's from? A movie. You're going to get 4 quotes, 4 movie quotes during the whole workshop. And each time I'm going to ask you if you know where it's from. And if you don't, it's fine, because I'm going to tell you the answer right afterwards. But does anyone know where it's from? So it's from an older movie called Field of Dreams. I don't know what it was called in French, but it's a great, great Kevin Costner movie from the early 90s. And the reason why I use this quote, if you build it, they will come, it's because in that movie, that's what he hears. He hears from a ghost, if you build it, they will come, like this. And again, I really invite you to watch the movie. And actually, he builds it, and they come. And so that's what people thought, in the late 90s, early 2000s, is that when you build a website, then people will come. And it's very easy because there's so little competition, and the web is so big in terms of potential audience that the moment you have a website, then again you'll get tons of traffic. Unfortunately, today it's not the case anymore because there's so many competing offers that it's not enough to build a nice website. Not only do you have to make sure that people know about it, but once they know about it, that they like it, but also that they convert again, and that's going to be part of the conversion part. But again, that they really identify almost from the first 2 seconds or the first 5 seconds that they're on your website, why it's unique. So again, you have to really refine your unique selling proposition so that you offer something that pops out. And that's all part of the design of the website, the design of your brand, even the name that you choose. So that's what we're going to talk about. So the first thing is USP and branding. So I want to give you a few examples of what I feel are just amazing USPs, amazing brands. Come in. We just started. So what are great examples of innovation? And I chose 3 different examples that can be illustrated. The first one is around industry, and this is a fan. And what is interesting is that the fans like this have been around for about 150 years, and they haven't changed at all for the last 150 years. Always the same mechanism, always the same blades. Those are called blades in English, and they didn't change at all. And then one day, a great company came. They're called Dyson, and people talk a lot about innovation around phones or payments as well. But I think, again, the industry is a great example because not a lot of people can innovate and create such a great design, but also a great example of innovation that they really create a unique brand. So Dyson, they started with vacuum cleaners. Then they also went into hand dryers in the toilets. And they also went into the fan industry. And again, they completely revolutionized the whole industry by removing what everyone thought was unique about a fan. And they thought that, well, anytime you have a fan, you need the blades. What they did is they created a bladeless fan. They made it a unique device. So I just love the design. But again, when people see that, they understand completely that it's a unique proposition. The second one is around DVDs, entertainment. And you know the brand, but you probably don't know how it started. So basically, when DVDs came up in the 90s, and you wanted to rent one from a DVD agent or a store, the whole business case or business model of DVDs was that you needed to return it on time, just like a book. And if you didn't, you would pay a fine after 1 day. And if you kept the DVD another day, then you paid even more. And one company came around called Netflix. And what happened in the US initially is that they would send you a DVD by post, and you could keep it as long as you wanted. You didn't have a fine. You didn't have to pay more. You could keep it as long as you wanted. And that removed from the whole industry the business model of the fine based on time. And even before they went to the next phase, they almost not kill, but I mean the whole industry was basing their whole revenue model on the time and fine, couldn't compete. And then what they did is they removed the DVD even, and they went full streaming. So that was a second revolution already after the first one. So that's, again, those are unique selling proposition and innovation that are just amazing. The last one is around payments. So and transportation, because PayPal is a payment company, but this is a company that we love. So you used to have a wallet with bills, and you needed to use it to pay your taxis. And then a company came around called Uber, and what they did is they said, you can order your taxi right away with your phone, but you don't even need to take your phone out to pay. There are a lot of companies that say, oh, we can do mobile payment. You're just going to take your phone, you're going to tap it. And it's the same thing as using a card. What Uber did, which was amazing, on top of the user experience and the go-to action, which is when you open the app, you don't have to decide what you want to do. You know right away what you're going to do, which is order a taxi. So what we call the call to action is immediate and very obvious. But what they did on top of that is that even once you're done with using the app, then you have paid already, and you don't even need to take your wallet out or your phone out. It's all taken care of. So in terms of user experience, but again, innovation and USP is just amazing. So there are really the three innovations that I love and that I think are very strong in terms of pushing innovation, pushing customer experience, and pushing design. There are a few more that we wanted to share as well. We call them the next generation companies. So some of them are French with BlaBlaCar. Others are in the payment industry. Other in the IoT. There are others are in the transportation as well, like Zipcar. Other in the travel, like Voyage Privé. And what is great about those companies is they keep pushing the branding, they keep pushing the customer experience. And the reason why, again, you have heard about them is they were unique. And if you go back to Uber, a lot of companies today say, I want to be the Uber of, of food. I want to be the Uber of something. But at the end of the day, it's Uber who was the first one that came with a USP, which was really amazing, which is to put someone that wants a ride with a driver together and connect them. And if people today in France and abroad are able to create the Uber of something and make it successful, it's again because they're creating a unique proposition for customers. So in order to create something unique and offer something cool to your customers, you need to start first with your research. I'm sure that you've done it already, but I wanted to share a few tools that we use that are really cool. One of them is Google Trends. I'm sure you all know Google and that you can actually look at what is trending on Google when you do your search. So what is cool about this is that you can do it by country, you can do it by category. And the reason why it's important for me to share that first is that there are some companies, they actually create a business around Google search. What that means is that they go into trends and they say, okay, today, what are the things that are searched for the most in Google, yet they're cheap when you do Google AdWords. And I can't remember which company, but basically what they looked at was that I think it was maybe the cemetery business and the coffin business, les pompes funèbres. And what they realized was that everyone needs it. And it's very, it's searched for a lot, but not a lot of people advertise for it. It's a company ripe for disruption. It's a segment ripe for disruption. So so that's what they did, and they used just free research to create their own business. Another one that we love, it's called SimilarWeb. I hope you all know about it. If you don't, then it's an incredible website. To show you, I did it by, I just typed auratechnologie.com, and what it does, for instance, and it's all free, but what it does is that it shows you where the traffic is coming from. So what is interesting about Aura Technologie is that 93% of the traffic is coming from France, a little bit more from Belgium and Canada. That's why Canada is in blue here, and Belgium is a bit blue as well. But then anywhere else, they're not present. So what it tells you already is that if you're going to look for a competitor in your own business, you can look today where they're successful, and you can actually look for how you're going to compete with this competitor in the markets where they're successful, or you can look at where they are not present, and you can actually target this market. Or again, if you know a specific company or a specific sector where you are trying to enter, then already you can find some incredible information in this website. So just I love it because it's just so full of knowledge. It's just incredible. Then it tells you as well, where people are coming from in terms of browser. Do they go with Google search? Do they type directly your website and so on? And of course, there are a few other websites that are as powerful on the web that are also free. But this one has almost everything just combined, so it's really powerful. A few very important things as well when you're going to start doing marketing is to measure the KPIs. There are just a lot of people talk about the return on investment (ROI) when they do marketing, but ROI is just one KPI of the financial KPIs, and then you have two other KPIs that you need to take into account when you're going to do marketing and to generate traffic on your website. You need to look at traffic and conversion KPIs, and I've given a few here. In the financial KPIs, ROI is one, but of course CPA, CPM, and so on are very important. And then you have to look at channel-specific KPIs, which we're going to detail here. And again, I've listed a few, and I'll share the deck, obviously, as I said before. But those are just some of the KPIs that you really need to take into account when you're going to decide how you're going to advertise, and if you advertise, how and where as well, and again, which tool. So the most common today are Google AdWords and Facebook ads, but you can also do free social media, but then you have to make sure that in terms of the engagement ratio compared to the effort, that it's worthwhile, and so on. A few examples that we want to give you. So when we look at B2B, so it's interesting to see that internet is the biggest source today for research for companies when they do when they look at services that they're going to buy. But consultants is the second most important research as well source. So what that means is that if you want to sell B2B instead of just B2C, instead of maybe buying AdWords, maybe you can partner with a consulting firm that does white paper, or they do research report regularly. And if you have some interesting USP again, or even interesting data that you want to share so that you can make your brand known, instead of again going to Google and buying some AdWords, you can get free publicity from consultants. So trade publication as well. So that means that maybe if you do an ad in a very specific magazine, it might have as much impact as or more impact than going to a trade show, to an event or a conference, and so on. So some of the sources when businesses do their research. We put some example. So it's called search engine results page. So SERP. So this is the current one. They used to actually, sorry, this is the past one. It used to be. This is how it worked for Google until the last few years when they changed it, and today they changed it with some images today, with more AdWords. So this is bigger now than the first results, which were free before, which started here. They only had one ads. Now they have more. So this means that when you look at the search result pages of Google, you have to make sure that if you're going to invest in AdWords, for instance, you're going to be part of this heat map here, which is what people look at first as well. And if you see if you see people look at this first, those are some of the ads as well, or some of the free results depending on when you place, but they don't look as much here, and they look even less here as well. Justine is going to share as well. When you look at some of the source of browsing and search for consumers, where do they go and what do they look for?
Maybe let's take a step back and explain you where we got this information. So we conducted a survey with Ipsos Mori for the third year at PayPal to understand what is the behavior of online consumers when they buy so online and abroad. We conducted this survey among 29 countries globally, and I'm going to share some of these insights with you today. One of the questions that we asked our consumers is, how do you look for foreign websites when you are buying online? The first source of accessing foreign websites is actually I go to the website that I've accessed in the past or I've bought already from, and then coming third, I search for particular brands on the internet and I go to sites recommended to my family. So we can see here the first two answers actually are linked to retention of consumers, how to make sure that your consumers are coming back to you after they purchased or visited your website, while here it's more related to acquisition and social media as well. And an interesting information to put in parallel is we asked our merchants how they drive traffic from cross-border consumers. And it's very interesting to match that against the consumer responses. And we see actually that SEO is the first source of first method for driving cross-border traffic from consumers. Most of those tools are actually linked to the acquisition of consumers. And I think it's very important on your side to think about, yes, I have to attract new consumers and acquire new consumers and convert them. But, and this is something that we will come back later. I have to make sure that I have a retention strategy and to drive loyal consumers to come back to my website. So now we're gonna deep dive on international customers. But maybe before we start, I have some quick questions for you. Are like some of you selling online already? Not yet. Okay. Are you planning to? You said not yet. But are you planning to target the French market, or to go abroad as well? Like, okay. For now. Okay. So what my objective here like today is just to give you some tips and raise your awareness of the opportunities that cross-border trade can offer you, and to tell you that it's not more complicated to sell cross-border and sell internationally than just selling domestically. Here's some reasons why. So we know already that 50% of online buyers in the world are purchasing across their borders. In Western Europe, this percentage is a bit higher. We are around like 55% of consumers that purchase online across their borders. And why is that important? Because we know that consumers who purchase internationally are worth twice more than consumers who only purchase locally. So amazing opportunity in terms of number of transactions, basket size, and so on coming from international consumers. What do they buy? So first category is clothing and fashion, basically. But consumer electronics comes second. Then entertainment and education, both digital and physical. So books, it can be music subscriptions and so on. We have travel, of course, which is by nature very cross-border, and then some leisure and toys and hobbies purchases. When we looked at where are consumers, when consumers are buying internationally, where are they buying from? So we see that France is not in the top 5. It comes number 6. And the top 3 markets are the US, China, and the UK. But I think the good news regarding France and Western Europe in general is that we have a lot of intra-Europe purchase from consumers in Western Europe buying from merchants in Western Europe. So we know that 80% of Western Europe consumers have bought from a merchant within Western Europe. We see that the top market is actually Germany, where they buy from. We know as well that the cross-border consumer is purchasing much more on mobile. While in France, we have only 3% of those consumers that purchase on mobile. if we cross the channel and go to our neighbors in the UK, this percentage reaches 13%. And if we go even more far away to exotic countries in Middle East, North Africa, or Africa as well, we can reach up to 40%. So think mobile if you want to drive international consumers. Something that came out as well in this study when we looked at the drivers and the barriers for shopping online and that are stressed when buying from international websites is that consumers want reassurance regarding shipping and return policies. Because if I buy from websites, I don't want to wait 2 weeks before being delivered. I want to have information right away from the homepage on the shipping policies. Is my merchant providing free delivery option? Is my merchant is the merchant I'm buying from providing free returns as well? And something that is not really applicable to European Union is the tax and duties part. But when a consumer buys from the US or China or greater import in general, this can lead to very bad surprises on the consumer side because when it completes the checkout, you have the consumer pays a certain price, and then to receive the item delivered, it has to pay extra taxes that are not very transparent and explained when completing the checkout. Something may be very obvious, but they do not always speak French and your local language. And we know that localizing the website is actually a conversion driver, and 34% of consumers would buy more from a website localized in their local language. The good news is that by only translating, by making the effort of translating the website or the platform into English, you can reach already many more consumers, because we know that 2 out of 3 European consumers have already bought from a website in English. One of the barriers as well related to purchasing online is linked to the security of payment. And we know that 1 out of 2 consumers would purchase more if they were reassured by the checkout page of the merchant. So maybe from large merchants and consumers that are very educated on purchasing online, they will check if the website is secure. If you buy from an international website from China, for example, you really love the item that you want to purchase, but you don't really know if the website is secure, then you know that if you purchase with PayPal, for example, we cover you in case you don't receive the item. And when it comes to account creation, so 1 out of 5 consumers drop out actually their purchase flow if they are forced to create an account at the merchant to complete the payment. PayPal offers here as well a solution for a guest checkout where you can log in with your PayPal account on the merchant's website, and then we provide the whole information regarding the consumer and the delivery address and so on. So if we summarize, I think I would say think mobile because consumers that are buying online are buying more and more on mobile. I think you already know that. Localize for them. So localization can be localization of the website. It can be localization of your customer support, because if I buy from a merchant that is not in my country, and if I have a problem, I want to be able to reach out to the consumer support and have my problem fixed. Localize the payment options and also the currency that you are providing your consumers to. Reassure them regarding delivery options and prices, the protection if they are not receiving the goods, regarding the payments and the customer support, and in the end, simplify their purchases by streamlining the experience as much as possible. Do you have any questions on the slide I presented or on international expansion in general? Yes. Yes. So this is really like, I would say, regulation questions. But if, for example, you're a French merchant, selling to Belgium to French-speaking consumers is not that of a big effort, because you have already like organic traffic coming to your website. You can manage everything from France. When it comes to selling like more far away, I think you need to make sure like to understand what is the local regulation. Can I be competitive by having managing my activities from here, or do I need local representatives? And we have actually some partnership that can help you with regulation and compliance to understand the environment in those countries. Um, I think the presentation here is not focusing at all on this regulatory question. Um, it's more highlighting the behaviors of online consumers, and especially showing you the opportunities of consumers purchasing from abroad. But I'm happy to discuss that afterwards. Um, and to finish with, so we have developed some tools at PayPal to help you understand the opportunities in around the world. So we have a website that is called Passport, where you can learn more about market data, barriers and conversion drivers for international consumers. You can learn as well what are the key dates if you want to sell to China, for example. You shouldn't miss Singles Day. If you want to sell to the US, like Black Friday and so on. So I encourage you to have a look. We have, yeah, it's all free. We have information about on 20 markets globally. So if you want to look at some opportunities and get some market insights. And then two value propositions that we are offering to our consumers, what we call the buyer protection, which protects our consumers for all their purchases paid with PayPal in case they don't receive the item they purchased, or if they receive an item that is not as described. And another value proposition that is around the returns. So we know that returning a purchase is actually one of the barrier in terms of costs for consumers. So we developed a program for all our PayPal consumers, where consumers purchasing with PayPal can get all their return costs refunded for their purchases. So if you pay with PayPal from a merchant in France or abroad, you are not satisfied with the item you purchased and you decide to return it, PayPal can reimburse you those costs. And I'm happy to give you more insights on an individual basis on the different programs later on if you want. Thank you.
Thank you, Justine. Just to go back to this, to the it's called retour free, so it's refunded returns. What that means is that if you sell to Canada and the person doesn't really like the goods, they can return it and will pay for the return, PayPal, not you. So what that means is that the customer from Canada wants to buy from your website will not think about, oh, if I don't like it, I'm going to have to pay to return it. We'll cover it. So that's also pretty powerful, because again, you remove one barrier for the consumer and you don't have to add cost to that. And maybe to go back to your question about Canada as well, what is interesting is that if you go into those things, so if you're thinking about selling to French Canadians, just like French Belgians, so the website language, that's okay, it's already taken care of. However, one thing that you want to look at is the currency. Do you want to put Canadian dollars? Do you want to put dollars, US dollars, or euro? I think adding currency is actually very easy, because you have free widgets today that can convert very easily. and you can decide also what currency you want to put and what rate you want to put as well. So you don't have to be covered. You don't have to be to have the risk of the currency conversion. And with PayPal as well, the good thing is that when a customer purchases, he's automatically purchasing in his own currency. So you don't have to do anything. It's all euro, but he's going to purchase in his currency, and you'll get euro as well. So that's very good. The last thing, and actually it's kind of here when you talk about shipping. So on top of refunding shipping that we cover, in general, I think shipping is part of the attraction. So a customer that comes from Canada is arriving on your website, is thinking, okay, is it even shipping to Canada? And a lot of websites today, especially France and even Europe, they only ship to European countries. And that's too bad because it blocks a lot of potential customers. And shipping is actually not that hard to do, especially if you let the customer decide how he wants to ship the good, because you have a lot of services today. What they do is they allow the shipping to be handled through a warehouse which is in France. So you only ship to France for free, for instance, and then the customer gets the shipment from the warehouse in France to Canada, to the US, even to the Middle East. So what that means in terms of just effort that you need to do is that maybe as far as customer information, so customer profile, you just add a country, which means that you allow a customer to even be from Canada or Belgium. However, shipping, you can say, sorry, we only ship to, to France. However, you can even put like a little message that says, but by the way, we work with this provider, or we have heard of those provider that will ship it from France to Canada, the US, or whatever, so that you don't have to integrate them. You don't have to pay anything, but the provider will take care of it for the customer as well. Again, you have a lot of free services around the web that can help you, again, grow and really attract more customers from all over the world. And they don't need any language additions. They don't need any integration. It's just a question of being aware of those services that they can help you grow outside of the country. Again, that's the value. We're not just around payment. We really try to bring you the websites like, Passport and things like that can help you get data or information. Finally, social media. So I won't talk too much about that because I'm sure you know more than I do now around social media. I'm on Facebook like every 2 weeks, I was saying, because I prefer Twitter and Instagram. Instagram is part of Facebook group as well. But the great thing around social media is that it's amazing for data. So I hope you all know about, it's called Audience Insights, and it's free as well, again. So if you Google Facebook Audience Insights, you can find information on, gender, on, what people like based on their country. So you can select the country. You can select even the city. You can select the age range. You can select the gender. You can select interest, and you can put as many interests as possible. So don't think about social media just for publicity or traffic, but think about it as well for research. So it's really amazing. But on top of that, think about social media for marketing, but think about social media for to retain your customers. So we'll talk about that afterwards as well. But sometimes, the whole part here is around attracting or buying customers, but sometimes it's cheaper to retain a customer and be your ambassador for you rather than to buy a customer. So if you look at, the cost of acquisition for you today for customers, it's like what, 5 euros, 10 euros, 15 euros. But if you give, 5 euros to one of your existing customers, and if you tell him, we'll give you another 5 euros if you get a friend of yours to shop on your website, then it costs you 10 euros, but it's 5 euros less than if you had to pay 15 euros on AdWords or whatever to acquire a customer. So again, think about social media not just on the media side, so to buy, but on the social side as well, to entertain your customers and to grow your customer base. So we're going to the conversion part now, which is almost more important than the attract, because what you're going to see now that Emmanuel will share is that you can get thousands of customers on your websites for free or for a low fee, but so little will actually convert. And so it's almost sad in a way, but that's why, again, the better the customer experience is on your website, the more important it is. That's why I have this this quote now. It says, "Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night." Normally, by changing it, ride, because that's what a lot of people remember the quote as. Do anyone remember knows where this is from? Well, that's a good one. That's a good one. But it's an American movie called All About Eve. So it's even older than Field of Dreams. Actually, this one I've never seen it. But the quote is great, and the reason why I chose it is because when you look at a person arrive on your website, even without you knowing it, it's a very bumpy ride for them to buy because of, again, currency, language, shipping. Again, if you go back to shipping, don't prevent someone from Canada from buying because maybe you don't have to ship to Canada. You just have to let him register as Canadian, but he's just going to know better than you that he can ship it from your warehouse to some place in Paris, and then from Paris he'll get it in Canada. But again, it's amazing how people block or put bumps in the road that prevent customers to buy. So I'm going to let Emmanuel share his great experience on user experience and conversion.
Thank you. Thank you very much. In fact, it's a very good transition because here, in fact, we were talking about frustration. And what we want to avoid, in fact, is frustration from a customer point of view. And at PayPal, we're trying to really, in fact, some efforts for driving, in fact, from a customer-centric point of view, the ability to get to the point where you pull the trigger to buy, in fact. So what I wanted to show is first to analyze what, in fact, we went through a little bit is the funnel of all the customers that goes from where the customer goes from the page where you have the home page or either directly on the product page and where you go from the prospect base. So if you have 10,000 visitors, 100% of the prospects, then you go on the product area. So on the product page itself, you have 60%. And then when you go to the shopping part, you only lead to 30%, which leaves you at the end with only 3% that you finally do an order on the website, which we want to increase those kind of figures. So how to lead those customers, in fact, those visitors, to convert them into customers and purchase. So here it was given with 10,000 visitors, you get only 54 customers that have completed purchase. So what I want to show, and we've talked about it a little bit already, but the customer journey map is one of the best examples. And we went, in fact, already kind of through each steps, but it's really important to get it straight on from a user experience point of view. So the research and planning, when a customer goes on the website, first he makes some research, and we saw through Justine, in fact, that explained that we have to go from a customer point of view to search for a product. So either the website where you should buy, or you have to dig into Google, call a friend, those kind of things, in order to know which product you want to buy. And that's one of the experience from a customer point of view, what we call it like enjoyability. So it's the more you make your customer happy, and the better you have some chances to lead them into the final process of making an order. And the helpfulness of e-commerce is what is in fact the metric that gives us the ability to say that the e-commerce, either it's mobile or web, is it helpful in a process where, in contradictory of going in a store, buying a product, is it something that is making easier from a customer point of view? Again, it's really, really customer centric. Not really about visual and those kind of things right away, but it's really from the customer experience point of view. So then product discovery, once we have seen, in fact, the product, we are going to click, in fact, and buy the product itself on the product page, which leads us, in fact, to the ordering process. And here, you can see already that the enjoyability from a customer point of view is decreasing a little bit, because here what we want is to avoid, in fact, what we call the pain from a customer point of view. We want to avoid as much as possible that it goes into several steps, into several processes, and those kind of things. Here, PayPal gives us also some few insights. We have some one-step checkout, those kind of things that really facilitate, in fact, the process of ordering for a customer point of view. The product shipping and delivery, and we already talked a little bit about it, and which is extremely important, is that when you're delivering, in fact, a product, what is important is to really notify, in fact, the customer. And here again, it's pretty stressful from a customer point of view to don't know where your package is, where in fact is it going to be delivered like broken into the packages, how it's going to be delivered, if it's going to be like a written note saying thank you for your purchase, all those kind of things. And there is some really great experience right now that is existing, for example, on Etsy, those kind of websites where you can order some handcraft goods. And what is great is when you receive, in fact, a word that says thank you very much for your purchase, and I hope that blah blah blah, and those kind of things. That really triggers, in fact, on the customer kind of loyalty, and those kind of things is really really precious from this point of view. And the returns, of course, we've talked about it. And here, the longevity decrease again. So a little bit more pain because you're not satisfied with the product, or maybe you just don't want it. And for example, a lot of, I mean, especially my wife, in fact, like to buy some shoes. So what she does, she goes on Sarenza, those kind of websites. She buys 10 pairs of shoes and then just return 8 of them just to keep the 2 pairs of shoes. They are pretty good, in fact, for returns because first it's free, and moreover, what is easy is that you have already the packaging split that you just need to put in the box and return only the pairs of shoes that you have to return. So here, what is important from a customer experience, you have to get it as easier as possible for your customer, and that's really really important. The helpfulness of e-commerce, as you can see here, increased, and that's pretty important because we have the ability with all the fulfillment centers and the shipping, technology, we are capable, in fact, to facilitate as much as possible those kind of processes. And finally, the refunds needs to be as fast as possible, because once you have returned your product, from a customer point of view, it's pretty, again, very stressful. You don't know if you're going to get your money back or not. And like Justin also showed, and we and Francis also talked about it, we have the buyer protection. So on those cases, if you don't receive at least your product, but if you have some issues with your return product, we get some refunds through PayPal. So there is another aspect which I like to call customer empathy. And it's really, really important from a customer point of view to see that you have some values to give to a product, especially when you like the product. I personally like Tom's. I don't know if you know this website, and especially their shoes. It's in fact, it's not shoes. We call it sandals. What I like is that they kind of trigger, in fact, kind of emotion from a customer point of view about giving, in fact, some money to schools in Africa just by buying a pair of shoes. And what is great about that is that you create, in fact, empathy in the customer. And that's pretty great because it really improves the lead, in fact, to buy on some cases, because you can see, for example, on their blog about all the actions that they're doing regarding the donations that they received and those kind of things. And that's pretty great. It really triggers, in fact, on the customer some empathy, and that really goes, in fact, to the product pages. Any questions so far? One thing that you might already know, but it's pretty, a tendency here, is the less is more. Archiduces is doing this pretty great, where you have released the strict minimum. You want to see only the products that is really important. The products really matters. And so you're really focused on what is important. You have the size, you have the title of the naming, in fact, which is pretty on the content writing. It's pretty work and really it went deeply into the details. Cardinal Red, for example, this kind of really subtlety about the visual. The ordering is pretty important also. As you can see, it's really digressive like a Pantone. And you have a categorization that is pretty straightforward, but there is nothing cluttered, like no promotions, no pop-up, nothing that is appearing. We're not on kind of CD discount. I like to take this image, but CD discount is pretty like a Christmas tree. So I like to make the differentiation here. But mostly that's important to keep it really straight. The less you put and the better it will be. Another example is, we talked about it, it's Uber. Uber, you just open the app and directly you see all the cars that are around you, and you just have one click to do. And that's pretty important to not have really some cluttered information that is shown in factors on the application. It could be mobile, it could be web, it could be anything, but really keep it simple. In PayPal, we have even what we call the reduction framework, which means that we put in question each time when we put something on a design that we have created. For example, if it's a sketch file or whatever, what we ask ourselves is to ask if we have to remove it. Ask yourself, can I remove this element? Can I remove this word? Can I just reduce, in fact, my sentences? This is really important because it really gives the, from a customer point of view, you want to see, go straight to the point so that you can lead, in fact, the customer directly to the product page. And here I gave also the example of Captain Pain, where it's pretty light. The only thing that we can see that makes a difference is really the integration, the exclamation point, sorry, where we specify in fact that the train will arrive at like 4.8 kilometers from Amsterdam, the center. And that's pretty an interesting information because it's something that is important from a customer point of view, and you don't want to put that much information, but it's an essential information. So regarding the prediction framework, that's something where you can ask yourself, should I put in fact this kind of information? And you finally say, no, this is something important that the customer needs to know. And if it's not written down, it could frustrate in fact the customer at the end of the experience when you're gonna check out. So again, really the importance of putting less and also to give as much as possible information with the minimum amount of information they have to give, which is kind of contradictory in some ways. The multi-channel consistency, and that's a good example, in fact, from when you have, for example, again, I'm going to take the example. I'm sorry, my wife is thinking about it here, but when we are trying to buy some gifts, in fact, to friends and family, what we usually do is that we talk about it, but she's at work, and for example, I'm home, or I'm taking care of my son, or those kind of things. So what happens is, from a customer point of view, you're searching, in fact, for a product, and when you're making discovery, you want to have consistency across your devices. So I'm looking, in fact, on my iPhone, the product that I want to share with my wife, that she's on a desktop or whatever. And usually what is important is to keep the same consistency of the design, visually speaking, and also, again, with the structure of your website on your mobile. And that's important to get exactly the same information with really the less stuff on the web page, on the design. Go straight to the point, and the better it will be for your customer. For you. Any questions? Okay. I go forward. The obstacles in the way of conversions, I think it's going to be the question.
So basically here, after like the best practices that Emmanuel just shared, just wanted to show you a concrete example of like when I'm a consumer, what I am looking for on the merchant website, and what can be like the obstacles for me to purchase from this website. So let's take the example of French consumers trying to buy from a merchant in the US. So this merchant, which is jugmont.com. They are selling some like t-shirts and prints and mugs and lifestyle products. First of all, when I arrive on the landing page, I will ask myself, actually, can I purchase from this website, and is it even delivering to my country? Maybe I can find this information in the FAQ, but it means that I have to look for it. Something that could be helpful, it's not the only option like to do it, like is to target and welcome international consumers with like a geolocalized pop-up, telling that we ship all around the world and you will be able to get delivered to your country. It could be also, if you don't want to use this kind of pop-up, you can like put this kind of sentences in as a small banner on the homepage. So this is one way to break the barrier for consumers. Then when it comes to payment and protection, which we know is the second biggest driver for consumers, providing all the payment in methods you accept on your website directly on your homepage can be a good solve. So of course we took the example of PayPal here, but if I'm a foreign consumer and I want to check out on a specific website, I mean, I want to make sure that I can use my preferred payment method. And if you are selling actually physical goods, and especially in fashion or consumer electronics, as we mentioned that those consumers are buying from, maybe you want to add your returns policy on your homepage, or at least a link to your returns policy. And if you provide free returns, then say it. If not, you can promote our service, which is actually providing you with and your consumers with free returns. Then in terms of localization, we mentioned earlier that currency is, can be a barrier, because as a French consumer, I would prefer to buy in euro, of course, so that I don't have any extra taxes and costs related to my purchase. So if I buy from this website, maybe I would like to be able to choose the currency I want to pay in. So offering your foreign consumers the prices in their local currency can be a way to overcome this barrier. This is related to like specifically purchases outside of the EU. Informing your consumers about the total landed cost, which includes not only the delivery cost, but also the tax and duties that will be incurred when purchasing this item, can give consumers a comprehensive view of the price and avoid bite surprises when it comes to receiving the item at home. Yeah, the language, as we said, and so this was like the objective was really to give you a concrete example, and now we'll move into the payments part. I'll let Emmanuel continue.
So on the fast checkout, so to continue in fact the customer journey, we also want, like we said, in fact, to trigger as much and as fast as possible, especially here, the trigger in fact of getting in fact the customer buying the product. And I put in fact two examples which is pretty relevant about the possibility to create in fact a good experience from a customer point of view, where we get the possibility in fact to be a loyal customer, to come back and to log in. So it means that in fact it requires in fact the customers to register. So there is several ways to register on the Tom's website, where you have just so the first one is for blogging, but the rest you can either check out at least get as much information as possible through Facebook Connect with Twitter Connect and the Google Plus, or you can get a new customer where, as you can maybe know, is that you will have a huge form where you will need to enter all your information. You will check out as a guest, and you will not be in fact kind of a new customer. You have the possibility in fact to just insert your password and just with the checkbox just say, okay, I want to be a customer. But here it's kind of I don't really like in fact the example of Tom's. I like the product, but here one thing that we can notice that it says new customer, but just underneath the button says check out as a guest, which is pretty contradictory about the fact that you are saying that you're going to be a new customer, but not necessarily that you want to be a customer, but you want to just check out as much as possible. So you want to go on the checkout as guest. So of course the button is more prominent in fact than the new customer title just above, but at least from my point of view, it's not necessarily a good experience from this perspective, because we want the customer to go as a fast checkout. But on Happy Socks, what is pretty great is that on one single page you can get you have your cart, you have the choose payment method, and you have your billing address. There is a trick here, because there is a bad usage also on the third panel, I would say. But at least what is great is that on a one single page, you can go from start to the end on your checkout page. And so it's just one page checkout. And that's pretty awesome, because you go really straight to the point and you check out from the customer point of view straight away. There is so the subtlety, just to say, is billing address. Here you have the billing address title, which is pretty wrong, because you have the possibility to say that ship to different address, which is not really the I would say, the right title to set here. It should have be something different where we can say billing and shipping address, all those kind of things, but at least showing in fact to the customer that not necessarily by entering the billing address will lead you to another page that says that you have to enter your shipping address. So you have to go through, in fact, all the form until you get to ship to a different address, which will bring you with another form when you just select, in fact, the checkbox. So that's pretty much it. But there is the pull trigger. And in PayPal, we offer something that's pretty great. Well, Lego has well integrated, in fact, this, let's say, one checkout. Because with PayPal, you just enter your login and password, and you can use your balance to directly check out. And what is great is on Lego, they go straight on your checkout, on your basket directly. You can check out directly with PayPal and say, well, pay avec PayPal. You click on pay with PayPal. Automatically, you're redirected to the PayPal. We call it the checkout page, and where you just enter, either you get you're gonna be in fact a new customer, or you just enter as a guest on through our platform, and you pay directly. You have all the information is strewn back directly to Lego, and you're done. And so here we have even went a little bit step further, where we say we don't need in fact to go into a form, ask you all the information, because you already did it on your PayPal account. And so here Lego has integrated this button so that you can get rid, in fact, of all the processes of entering your information on Lego and get only the one from that you have already have on PayPal. And so it will directly take all the information. And finally, one word about the security. Everybody knows about the SSL, PCI DSS, and those kind of things. And Justine already also talked about it. But what is important from a customer point of view is to feel in security. And we offer, in fact, the buyer protection, which is, from my point of view, a really great trigger from a customer to buy, in fact, the product, because if it's not a good merchant and that it doesn't deliver the product, here, PayPal can refund you directly if there is an issue with your order. And I think that ends, in fact, what we call, in fact, at PayPal, the happy path of all the customer journey that I showed initially. So if you have any questions,
Thank you, Emmanuel. Actually, I'd just like to come back 2 seconds on those pages, because those are, as Emmanuel said, those are the most important ones almost. Actually, they are not almost. Those are the most important pages. It's more important than how much you're going to pay for AdWords, how many customers you're going to bring. Because if they cannot buy from you, then you're not going to make money. So what does that mean? You have to ask you 2 questions. The first one is, do you want to have a buyer, or do you want to have a customer? What that means by that is that if you want someone to pay you, then it's less important to ask him all those information, and more important for him to actually pay you. So that means that maybe you don't want to bother him with all the information around shipping, billing, zip code, and so on. All you want is his money. And again, that's why you want to use maybe the social media check-ins, so that they already provide the information to Google or Facebook or PayPal. And all they give you is an email address, because with this email address, then you can talk to your customer. But again, you want someone that buys, and not necessarily a customer where you're going to ask him so many information that he's not going to buy. So that's the first important question. Is if you want a buyer, then make sure that it's as easy as possible. And that goes to the second question, is how much information do you need from him to make him pay? If you go back to the Canada example, or even the United States, if you have the city here, if you have the country, and you know that you want to sell to United States customers, United States means that it's you, so it's all the way to the bottom. So it means that if they have to click here and then go to the drop-down menu and select United States, they're not going to do it. They're going to stop. So what that means is, if you know that you're going to target a lot of US customers, either you put by default United States here, or you do geolocalization, where based on the IP, then it's already selected. So it's so easy to do. Same thing as well, if you're going to sell to Canada, maybe the Canadian post is so good that you don't need to ask for the region. In the US, it's the state, for instance. people usually, when they put the zip code, it's automatically filling the address, so the city, sorry, and the state. So that makes it so easy that it's going to be, again, it's going to be an impulse buy almost from the customer. And the last thing, again, to go back to to make it so easy, is that every field, every click, every information that you ask the customer, you go from 10,000 to 53 or 54. And why is that? Because if you look at the 3% number that Emmanuel showed, it's not 3% of 10,000, and that's already 300 customers. That's great. But it's actually, it's 3% of the 30%, of the 60%, of the 100%. So again, and why is that? Because every click, every button, every field that they have to put in, you're going to lose some customers. So that's why we created, as Emmanuel said, the checkout button, which is from not even the shopping cart itself, but it can be from the product page itself, so that people will pay you. And again, it's more important that they pay you, and they will become customer afterwards because you get their email address, and that's how you can get them to become your customers. So that's why, again, this is the most important thing out of the whole discussion, is how do you make them pay and not how you then become customers. That being said, once they pay you, then you make sure that they become your customers and that you entertain them and that you make sure that they come back and they come back and come back. So that's why I've put one last quote. I hope this one you know where it's from because it's an amazing movie. It's, "You can't handle the truth." Does anyone know where that comes from? No? So it's a movie called A Few Good Men. In French, it was called Les Hommes d'Honneur, with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson and Demi Moore. Amazing movie as well, written by the best screenwriter ever called Aaron Sorkin. And in that movie, at one time, Jack Nicholson says, "You can't handle the truth," because the truth was too hard to understand. And why did I put that here? Because it's not because a customer bought from you that he's going to be happy. It's not because he paid you, you delivered on time, and you delivered exactly the product that he thought he wanted, that again, he's going to be happy. What does that mean? That means that if he calls you or he sends you an email to complain, to tell you, "I didn't like it," so which is the truth for him, can you handle it? And my answer is you should, because if you take another great quote from the hotel industry, they talk about the moment of truth. What that means? It means that when a customer comes to you to complain, it's a moment of truth for you. It's either you're going to lose this customer right away, and he's never going to return because he complains and he's not happy about the answer, or you're going to transform him into a customer for life. Again, a brand ambassador. Let me give you an example in the hotel industry. So you have a customer that comes with a pillow to you and he says, "You know that I can die because I'm allergic to feathers, and if I actually sleep tonight with this pillow, then you're going to kill me." And that's a huge complaint, right? So what do? Do you say, I'm sorry, sir, but we don't have other pillows? Or do you say, "We're actually going to buy a new pillow for you, even though we don't have one, because we don't want to kill you and want to make you happy"? And the next time the same customer come, you have to make sure that you've replaced the pillow in his room, because when he discovers that, again, he's going to be really impressed. And the people that create this notion called moment of truth are the Four Seasons hotels, which are considered like the best hotel chain in the world. So good that they don't even have a loyalty program, because people want to return to that chain even though they don't get points, because they love so much the service. So that's why I think it's a very important thing. That's why, again, the first important part of the retaining is the delivery, but not just actually the physical delivery, but the delivery of a promise. Because first of all, again, you have to deliver the physical good, but some of you maybe are working in the app or the service industry, or are thinking of. So that means that it's not necessarily a physical delivery, but it's a promise. And again, it goes back to what Emmanuel was saying about, how do you even promise a nice experience, a happy path? And it goes with the little emails that you send. So you don't want to send an email every day to your customer, but you tell him, "Thank you for shopping. Your order will be prepared now." And then 2 days later, 1 day later, "We just wanted to let you know that your order was prepared and it's shipping now to you. And it should arrive with that at that moment with a link, again, with Socolissimo or DHL, FedEx, and so on. So the customer from his phone or from his email browser can just click on it and see that the package is already on its way. And again, the promise that the package is on its way is so good. And actually, if you come back just to a moment also to the payments, and I forgot to tell you that when we talked a little bit more about the e-commerce experience. I think, if you remember how e-commerce started, before e-commerce was around, people would go in a store, and if they wanted to order something and it wasn't in the store, they didn't pay for it. They left maybe some down deposit, des arts, but they didn't pay for it. And most of the time, they didn't pay at all until the product arrived, either at the store a few days later, a few weeks later, or at their house. What happened, however, was that with e-commerce, the whole proposition was inverted. People would pay for the goods or the service, maybe weeks. If you take Vente Privée or other websites like this, they would pay 4 weeks, 5 weeks before the whole product was delivered. And the only reason why websites were able to do that was because they knew that it would be coming eventually. So it was a question of trust, but a question of promise. The trust part, I think, I tend to believe that PayPal helped a lot because, as Emmanuel and Justine said, if your goods was not delivered, if you were not delivered, then we would reimburse you. And again, that creates trust. And the more there is trust, the more people will buy, even tickets, even couch, even, a car online, because they trust the website or they trust the service that protects them. So it's all around trust. It's all around promise. So that's why I think, again, it's very important that you need to entertain your customers. You need to please them. You need to delight them. We use at PayPal, we use a strong word called the delighter. Again, the delighter might be just the emails that you send them, just the personalized message that said, Francis, thank you so much for ordering this jacket. Next time you come, why don't you order a shirt? We think it's going to match very well. Again, you can invent many things. I'll tell you also another example that I saw in the Middle East. There was a customer that called to complain. He said, you're going to deliver a package to my wife, but she's at the hospital right now, and I don't think she'll ever be able to get it. So, please, cancel it. And he wasn't really happy as well because he didn't want his wife to get it or something like that. What the website did, the customer rep did, is that so he canceled the order, but he had flowers sent to the hospital of the woman. And can you imagine the husband who was at the hospital, the wife was at the hospital, and they're together in the hospital room. They're seeing flowers deliver for a website where they actually canceled the order. The experience was so great that the man actually called the next day to order double, I think, the amount. And he told all his friends about the incredible experience. And what that means as well is that only, again, you have to have a promise of nice customer service and customer care, but sometimes as well, you have to empower your employees to deliver on this promise. And again, the story about the flowers at the hospital was told by the CEO, but he didn't make the decision. It was a guy who was working on the phones and who had been there just for a few weeks, but who knew promise of service and customer care of the company was so strong that you need to deliver on this promise, and you need to help your customers. That's why you need to measure what is one of the most important elements, which is called the NPS, which stands for Net Promoter Score. So the NPS is the measure of your customer loyalty, or how many people will recommend your website or your service versus the people that don't. So how do you measure it? You can do a survey either by phone, by email, depending on, usually it's between 0 and 10 or 0 or 100. And the people that will promote you will give you a grade of 9 or 10 out of 10, or 90% all the way to 100%. And the people that don't like you, they will grade you 6 or 60 and below. And so the promoters are only the 9 and 10. And what that means is that they're very likely to recommend your website, or very likely to come back to your website, or very likely to talk about your website on social media, versus the ones that are likely not to, and they're called detractors. And what that means, again, is that you don't consider the 7 and 8, because those are neutral people. So they can go both ways, either recommend or not. But again, if you come back to the moment of truth, what does the detractor, what does that mean? Does that mean that you just forget about it and that the truth that they didn't like your service is too hard for you? Or do you want to come back to them and say, we're sorry you didn't like us. We're sorry we didn't deliver on our promise. How can we make it up? How can we make sure that we can convert you from a detractor to a promoter? And then again, as I like to say, from a promoter to even an ambassador, because I think the term ambassador is even stronger than promoter, even though they kind of mean the same thing. So that's the very important thing, is that this is something that you need to measure and you need to manage. Measuring is one thing. And again, it's very hard to measure it because even if you send survey to all your customers, they're not going to answer. And the problem as well is that most of the time the people that answer are the ones that are not happy. So it means that all their answers will be here and you won't have anyone that will be happy. But that's why, again, you need to manage the results, because if you see that it's all there, does it mean that you're bad at service? Or it means that the people that like you didn't respond? And that's why, again, what you can do as well, sorry, is that you can add reviews to your website. You can add comments. If you look at TripAdvisor, TripAdvisor is one of the most successful websites in the last few years. And they were first user-generated comments, and they're so big now that they make a lot of money on ads, but they're also going to become from content to transactional, because you're going to be able to book your hotel or airline on the website as well. But if you look at, again, the business of reviews on e-commerce, so again, TripAdvisor, it was only reviews. Now they're making a lot of money. And there's also a great company in France. It's called Verified Avis Vérifié, so verified reviews. And what they do is that you can actually pay them, or they are paid by companies so that they can actually make sure that the reviews that are on your website are real ones, and they're not the ones you put on your own website or that you're putting on the website of competitors to bring their score down. But again, it's all around being completely truthful to your customers, being complete and transparent, and measuring their satisfaction, making sure that if they're not satisfied, you understand why. That's why it's very important also to do a post-mortem. So a customer that didn't like you, why? A customer that returned the goods, why? So if you, Emmanuel was saying that it's very important to put the return slip in the package so that people can return very easily the package. The question is, if they return it, most of the time they're not going to tell you why they didn't return it. So what you can do is you can still do free shipping, but in return for the free shipping, you want information. Free return shipping. And for this information, you need to make sure that in order to get the label for return, they have to log back on your website and to say why they are returning. Is it because it's too big? It's not the right color? They didn't like it or whatever. So again, it's a choice. You can decide whether you want information or when you want to make it so easy for them that they don't even have to give you information. Especially if, again, you can do that for loyal customers. Loyal customers that have ordered twice or more, and you already know that they're ordering a lot from your website, and they're going to return some, like Emmanuel's wife, who orders 10 pair of shoes and she returns 8. But again, the thing is that she's going to come back, she's going to keep ordering the same way every time. So for her, you want to make it as easy as possible to return, because you want to make sure that she's going to keep ordering, even if it's just 2 that she pays, but she keeps ordering them. So again, it's a choice, but it's based on analysis and it's based on what you know in your customers. So a few more elements that you will share on the customer survey. And again, is it an opportunity, or is it an opportunity for risk and for success, or for success? So that's what you need to consider yourself when you have bad or good results. Return customers. So those are just a few of the elements of how do you get return customers as well. If you go back to the beginning of the workshop, we talked about AdWords and how you create you get lots of customers. How you create traffic out from Canada, from Belgium, from France. But the reason, if you remember, also it's a circle. It's not you attract customers, they buy, and then you make them happy. They like, if you attract customers, they buy and you make them happy, normally you want them to return again. So that's why it's a circle. Hopefully it's an endless circle for you. What that means is that what you use to attract customers, you can also use to have customers come back. So that's why you have some marketing elements that can be in the attract, or they can be the retain, and vice versa. So what is important, again, if you go back to the marketing part and what we talked about, the KPIs, you have to measure, is it cheaper for you to retain a customer or to attract new ones? And you could actually have to use the same method, the same channel, so even AdWords or Facebook ads, to keep your customers to come back or to get new customers. If you look at your Facebook page, and the way that you have to pay for someone to actually look at the Facebook page every day and talk to the customers, then it's not necessarily, you know, Facebook ads or you know, buying new customers, but it's entertaining existing one, and that has a cost. So actually we have something here around, you know, managing this marketing cost or the marketing resources. If you look at social media management, you know, if you outsource it to an agency, for instance, or to, you know, like a freelancer, then it means that you're going to understand less your customers. So social media is very important, but again, it's part of how do you manage the channels. Same thing with SEO and SEM and so on. You can keep it or you can outsource it, but you have to make sure that whatever you decide to do, you put, again, strong measures so that you know how much it costs you and how much it brings back as well. And the last two, web analytics and on-site optimization, what is more important almost than owning the talent is having the best people. So that means that most of the time, especially if you look at on-site optimization, it's people like Emmanuel. They're like, his whole experience was to create amazing websites for Villebrequin, you mentioned, or for Petrosian. And if you look at those websites, or if you look at the ones we showed you, those are really, really great websites. And they were not done internally. They were done through an agency whose only job is to create the best happy path, as we call it, ever. So that's why, again, you have to really decide whether you want to do, you know, outsourced or in-house. Also, what you have to make sure, however, that if you do outsourced, you retain all the code, so that you don't have to, you know, to start from scratch every time as well. So those are some of the tips as well to bring back return customers as well that we talk about. So when people talk about merchandising, it's usually when you have a shop and you have a window and you put, you know, the nice jacket in the window that you also maybe put in an ad. If you have a magazine ad, you want to put the jacket that you put in a magazine ad because that's what people will remember. So same thing for the website. If you do a newsletter to your customers, and when they click on the newsletter, they arrive on a landing page and they don't find the product that made them click on the newsletter, then again, you lost some customers. So merchandising is the same thing as kind of web design in a way, because you have to use your homepage as your shop window, but you also have to make sure that you customize it. That's why also you want to give filters as well to your customers based on, again, you know, shipping address, currency, but also on products. If you go back to the Lego page, you know, I have two children as well. I love going to Lego almost every day and just seeing, you know, what are the new products, what are the ones for the best age, what are the ones based on the collections and so on. So it's almost counterintuitive because we said that the more clicks there are, the less you'll get, you know, a conversion. But at the same time, the more a customer can customize the experience and the choice selection, then the more he'll be happy and he'll find the product that he's looking for. That's why, again, you might decide that for returning customers, you put filters because you know they know your product, and now they're not looking for a product, but for the product that they want. But for brand new customers for whom you don't have any cookies, they don't want to make it, you know, as easy as possible, and you want them just to find like the best-selling product, and that's it. So again, you really need to find the right customer experience and the right path for your customers. That's why, you know, same thing, you know, tokenization. So tokenization is kind of a fashionable term right now around payments, which basically means that it's like kind of a cookie, but for payments. So when the customer pays once, you give him a token, sort of a ticket, which the customer will keep in his computer in a way on his phone. But it doesn't mean that if someone steals his computer, his phone, they'll be able to pay again, or even on the same website without passwords, without some form of identification. What it means, however, is that if this customer with the right identification come back on your website, you won't have to ask him for some more information again because he'll be recognized. So that's what you want to use. And that's what PayPal has been doing from the beginning, is recognizing the customer and making sure that you can pay much faster. A/B testing as well. So you have some, optimizer tools from Google. But again, the beautiful thing with online or even m-commerce is that you can test as many things as you want. So if you're going to go with a new product, you can test whether the blue or the red one will sell more. Some people, what they do, and that's a bit tricky, but what they do is sometimes they're not even live, but they do a landing page or they do a test so that people can, so that they can see what is more powerful or more popular, even though it's not live yet. So we did it, for instance, for a test. We sent a newsletter to customers and they had to click on it. And basically, I think we were just asking them a question, which was, would you like to pay at your house rather than on the website with a card? And when they said yes, then they couldn't do it. We just told them, thank you very much for your answers. We'll make sure that when it's available, we'll get back to you. But for us, what we were more interested in was the data rather than the transaction itself. So again, if you want to test some things, if the data for you is very powerful, then you should use A/B testing. You should track your visitors. Emmanuel talked about the happy path. So you have to make sure that you see where customers drop out, so that you can make sure that you can correct as quickly as possible the experience. What is great again with the web is that you have volumes. Even if you're a small company, you'll be amazed how much traffic you get. Again, if you do the right attract tools. But once you get this traffic, you need to use it right away to correct very quickly the path if it doesn't work. You have to put recommendation engines, which is part of the filters. So I kept telling you to customize the customer experience. If you put filters, it means that it's the customer that has to choose for himself what is the best customized product. If you put recommendation engine, then it means that you're going to offer to him based on his past purchase or his cookies that he has on his website, on his browser, you're going to be able to recommend to him what he likes. So usually you don't have to do it yourself. You have third-party apps. However, it's not free. But what that means is that what you're paying for is less clicks or less filters from your customers. So it might be worth it. Geolocalization of the IP, we talked about that. Remembering what people have done before. So whether they came back and they didn't buy, I actually on Lego, because I keep coming back to the website and adding things on my cart, I get an email the next day saying, oh, you didn't finish your purchase. Why don't you come back and finish it? So they're able to do that now with the cookies as well. Actually, that's it. So we're almost on time. We're ahead. So any questions for me, for Emmanuel, for Justine? Oui. Juste, donc, last quote, which is this one, where it's from. Actually, sorry. Where is it? There you go. Okay, so good luck with everything. We're happy to meet with you today. So if you have any questions, our emails will be on the presentation. So this is Justine, Emmanuel, myself, and what else? So yeah, just don't hesitate. I hope this was helpful for you, and that's it.
Pour maximiser le nombre de points.